Sensitive content warning. This video discusses real-life crimes, including details about murders committed by Juan Carlos Aguilar Gomes. Our goal is to inform and raise awareness about the tragic consequences of these actions, not to glorify the events described. We express our deepest respect and condolences to the families and friends of the victims. Please consider this warning if you are sensitive to such topics. The Murderous Monk. The shocking story of Juan Carlos Aguilar. This video explores the disturbing trajectory of Juan Carlos Aguilar Gomes from his childhood to becoming known as the Killer Monk. We will detail each phase of his life, including his upbringing, family influence, his passion for martial arts, and how he turned into a ruthless criminal. We will investigate the complexities of his personality, the tragic events that shaped his path, and the shocking crimes he committed, culminating in his trial and verdict. Juan Carlos' story is not just a chronicle of crime, but a study in how a person's life can take unimaginable turns. Do not forget to like the video, leave your comment, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss more content like this. Your interaction is important to us. Subscribe to our channel and open your mind to innovative ideas. Each playlist is a window to enrich your knowledge. Childhood and family influence. The place where Juan Carlos was born, his family, and the influence of his older brother, Rose Luis. Juan Carlos Aguilar Gomes came into the world on September 7, 1965, in the city of Barcalda, located in the autonomous community of the Basque Country, part of the Greater Bau region of Spain. He was the third of 5 children born to Severina and Abelin Gomes. Although details about his childhood are scarce, it is known that Juan Carlos was inspired by his older brother, Rose Luis. From the age of 10, Juan Carlos admired Rose Luis, notoriously recognized in the family for his intelligence and dexterity, especially in sports activities. Rose Luis's passion for martial arts led Juan Carlos to beg for training. However, Rose, known for his rigor, not only agreed to train him but also imposed an extremely harsh training regimen, which included both physical and psychological abuse. Martial arts education and training. Juan's transition to formal martial arts training and his relationship with his brother during this time. Juan Carlos, not content with just Rose Luis's rigorous lessons, decided to advance to professional martial arts classes along with his brother. Despite his agility and skill in fighting, Juan Carlos often found himself overshadowed by Rose Luis's exceptional talent, remaining in the shadow of his older brother. However, his determination was unwavering, and he persisted in his involvement with sports, always alongside his brother Joseph. In the early years of the 1980s, the success of Bruce Lee's martial arts films in the previous decade catalyzed a spike in interest in karate and kung fu throughout Spain. Capitalizing on this wave of popularity and their pre-existing interest in martial arts, the brothers decided to open a gym in Bilbao, turning their hobby into a profession. Family tragedy and trip to China. The tragic loss of Juan's brother and his journey to deepen his knowledge of Kung Fu in China. In February 1992, a tragic event shook Juan Carlos' life. During a training session, a fatal accident occurred when a heavy object, described by some as a forklift and by others as a weight machine, fell on José Luis, resulting in his immediate death. Deeply affected by what happened, Juan Carlos closed the gym he owned with his brother and plunged into a period of isolation and mourning. In search of solace and renewal, Juan decided to travel to China, where he sought to hone his skills at a Kung Fu temple. The information differs as to the length of your stay. Some sources indicate that he made 3 trips to the country, staying 4 to 6 months in each, while others claim that he spent a year and a half continuously in China, devoting himself intensively to the study of martial arts. Transformation and return to Spain. The transformations experienced by Juan after his return from China and how he proclaimed himself a monk. Juan Carlos returned to Spain in mid-1994 after a stay of a year and a half in China, presenting profound changes. With shaved hair and wearing a robe, he presented himself as the first Western Shaolin monk, taking the name Master Juan Gilar. To many, he was the embodiment of Buddhism, always exhibiting serenity and a philosophy of life focused on the constant pursuit of personal fulfillment through moral, ethical, and spiritual values. According to Juan, his experience in China involved delving into Shaolin Kung Fu, Tasheng Yoga, and meditation techniques, which he says pacified his soul. Upon his return, he reopened the gymnasium, now renamed the Ocean of Tranquility Buddhist Monastery. As a Shaolin master, Juan intended to centralize the oversight and approval of all Kung Fu-related activities in the country, ensuring that they were in line with the principles he now espoused. Career and recognition. The rise of Juan's gym, his victories in competitions, and the rise of his fame. After reopening his gym under a new concept, Juan experienced remarkable success, driven in part by his dedication to Taekwondo, a discipline in which he excelled, winning the title of 3-time Kung Fu World Champion and 8-time National Champion. With such an impressive record, Juan quickly attracted media attention. Starting in 1997, he became a frequent guest on television shows, where he shared his journey and philosophy. In these apparitions, Juan often claimed to have transcended the boundaries of pain and achieved extraordinary control over his mind, which allowed him to perform feats such as putting his hand in the fire without feeling pain, treating such a function as mere entertainment. On several occasions, he performed demonstrations of his extreme practices live, which elevated him to the status of a demigod in the public eye. This visibility brought a legion of fans and curious onlookers to his gym, solidifying his fame and influence as a Shaolin master. Online activities and philosophy. Juan's YouTube channel and how he used this platform to disseminate his philosophies and practices. Taking advantage of the height of his popularity, Juan created a YouTube channel shortly after the platform was launched. On this channel, he shared Kung Fu teachings, offered advice, and discussed his philosophy. Juan defended the idea that, at the limit, a person's true nature is revealed. He believed that, just like animals, humans possess instincts that can be controlled and refined through martial arts. His teachings functioned as mantras for his followers, who sought to emulate his faith and discipline. Many came to adopt Juan's look, shaving his head and wearing robes, and the collective behavior began to be seen by some as sectarian, with Juan being venerated as an almost godlike figure. As his students completed the courses, Juan selected the most promising ones and named them monks and nuns, claiming that as the highest Kung Fu authority in the country, he had the power to make such appointments. Although respected by many due to his titles and appearance of serenity, those who really knew Juan sometimes saw him differently. Described as aggressive and not exactly chased by connoisseurs, Juan had a striking duality, calm and peaceful during the day, while at night he revealed an entirely different personality, evidencing a double life that intrigued and confused many around him. Controversies and legal issues. Juan's controversial activities at the gym and the accusations against him. For a period, Juan engaged in inappropriate behavior inside his gym, recording his actions through photos and videos. Some women, initially attracted to his monk persona, were eventually disappointed to witness abrupt changes in his behavior, including outbursts of anger. Incidents resulting from these behaviors have led several women to seek police assistance. However, the authorities often did not follow up on the investigations, citing the women's initial willingness to go to the site as a reason for the lack of legal grounds. This scenario has contributed to many victims hesitating to make complaints, fearing reprisals, or facing social disbelief, which often invalidates the seriousness of such situations. In addition, fear of Juan's actions discouraged other women from reporting their experiences. Jennifer Sofia Rebelo Turian, known as Jenny, a 40-year-old Colombian, faced a tragic setback in 2012 when her 7-year-old son died in an accident. Deeply affected, Jennifer went through a difficult period but decided to get back on her feet, motivated by the responsibility of caring for her other 2 children. Determined to rebuild her life and move on from the past, Jennifer sold everything she had and moved to Spain, seeking a fresh start and a chance to leave behind the painful memories. However, Jennifer found it difficult to get a stable job in Spain. Being a solo immigrant in a foreign country, she faced significant challenges in providing for her family. According to reports from friends, Jennifer was approached by Juan for a job interview for a massage therapist position. However, official reports suggest that Juan sought her out for other services. This discrepancy in versions highlights the complexities and challenges Jennifer faced when trying to establish a new life. Crimes and consequences. The crimes committed by Juan, his arrest, and the subsequent investigations. On May 25, 2013, a serious incident occurred at Juan's gym involving Jennifer. After an initially consensual encounter, Juan severely assaulted Jennifer, resulting in her death. He then took drastic measures to conceal the crime, dispersing the remains in a gruesome manner to avoid detection. Part of the remains were hidden in the ceiling lining of the gym. Another part was burned at the back of the site. A third was taken to his house and hidden in the garden, and the last part was discarded in a river in the city. This tragic event underlines the gravity of the acts committed by Juan and the devastating consequences of his actions. In the days following the incident, Juan continued his activities at the gym as if nothing had happened, maintaining an appearance of calm that did not arouse suspicion among the regulars. During this time, a tragic event involved Marin Ada Ochua, a 29-year-old Nigerian woman who had recently immigrated to Spain. Marin, being the eldest sister in her family, felt a deep responsibility for her relatives, to whom she sent most of the money she could. Faced with difficulties in finding a stable job, she was forced to take extreme measures to support her family. Therefore, on June 2nd, 8 days after the first attack, Juan requested the services of Marwin, who went to the gym, and there they had consensual relations. But again, after finishing, Juan would have immobilized her with a rope and started the same sadistic session that Jennifer would have subjected to. However, unluckily for her, during one of the breaks when Juan stopped to rest and photograph, the woman got distracted and she managed to extricate herself from the ropes and ran towards the exit of the building. However, she did not count on the fact that the gate was locked, and although it was late at night, while Maurin was screaming for help, a woman passed by on the street and heard her calling for help. Fortunately, after seeing this scene, the witness did what everyone expected. She called the police and told in detail everything she had seen. In a sobering account, a witness described an emergency scene at the gate of a gym, where a woman was calling for help. According to the witness, a man had pulled the woman by the hair and dragged her into the establishment. Police were notified and responded quickly, arriving at the scene in about 3 minutes. When they broke into the gym, they found Juan Carlos in a compromising situation, smeared with a red liquid, next to a bed where part of a hand could be seen under it, indicating the presence of someone in danger. The victim, identified as Malin, was found with signs of restraint and visible bruises but was still alive. She was promptly rescued and taken to the hospital, where she fought for her life for 3 days. Despite medical efforts, the situation was critical, and she unfortunately did not survive. After the incident, Juan's gym was shut down by authorities and turned into a crime investigation scene. During the forensic examination, investigators detected an unpleasant odor and, when following a trail, found remains in an advanced state of decomposition on the ceiling of the establishment. In addition, Juan's home was also examined, where more disturbing evidence was found, including bags containing human parts. During the continuation of the investigations, the police discovered a VHS tape with images of a monk discarding a bag in the Bilbao River, which broadened the scope of the case and indicated the possibility of involvement of other parties or broader activities related to the case. When confronted with the evidence found, Juan confessed his involvement in the macabre events. Further examination identified that the remains found belonged to Jennifer, and it was revealed that Juan himself had filmed himself discarding body parts. During the investigation at the gym, investigators discovered several handbags from different women, suggesting a series of disturbing events. One of the most disturbing places found was a small room inside the gymnasium, where Juan kept photographs he had taken on display, adding to the seriousness of the discoveries made by the authorities. Among the many photos found at the scene, images of a woman known only as 28-year-old Maria Eva were identified. She had a date with Juan on May 26th, the day after the incident with Jennifer. Maria Eva only became aware of the situation when the photos were discovered, and she was summoned by investigators to give testimony about her interaction with Juan. The situation gained international attention, prompting the Chalem Temple in Spain to issue a statement. They declared it to be the only Chalem temple with official approval from China and disproved the authenticity of the temple associated with Juan, classifying it as fake. It was only with this statement that the public learned that there had been no authentic Shaolin monks for over 300 years, and that Juan's claims about his involvement with such traditions were purely fictitious. Juan, over the years, acquired a certain notoriety and was frequently invited to various events, where his presentations usually went off without incident. However, there have been occasions when his behavior has aroused suspicion. At a 1997 performance in Marbella, he performed an extremely aggressive act, surprising and shocking spectators with a posture that diverged from the typical serenity of a monk. In 2000, Juan was hired by a city council for an event that would involve 3 distinct acts, culminating in a high-level demonstration of self-control, where he intended to use a spear pointed at his own neck while pushing a car with the other end of the spear. The complexity and dangerousness of this act required exceptional preparations, including the presence of first responders, ambulances, and intensive policing to ensure the safety of the event. However, when it came time to carry out the final and most dangerous act, Juan hesitated and refused to proceed, claiming that the ground was uneven and that the arrangement of the objects was incorrect, which, according to him, compromised the energy of the place and put his life at risk. This attitude was seen by many as an excuse to avoid conducting a feat that could expose its limitations and potentially unmask a hoax. In both events, Juan's attitudes raised suspicions about his authenticity. Some began to question whether he really possessed the skills and character he claimed to have, suggesting that his acting could be a means of seeking attention due to an inferiority complex and an exaggerated self-esteem, with no real skills in the practices he demonstrated. However, as is often the case, there were still those who chose to ignore the doubts that arose and continued to support him. To these followers, Juan was still seen as a powerful and perfect figure, which allowed his charade to persist for a while longer, even in the face of evidence to the contrary. In fact, Juan's story as a Shaolin monk does not correspond to reality. He never officially attended the Shaolin temple in China. What occurred was that, taking advantage of the growing popularity of Kung Fu, the country saw an opportunity to boost tourism. Near a Shaolin temple, a large tourist center was established that offered Kung Fu performances and related courses. These courses provided certificates of completion but were not equivalent to a degree or a formal certification of the skills acquired, and did not confer monk status on participants. In addition, it is important to clarify that there are no authentic Shaolin monks, as the last one recognized as such passed away more than 300 years ago. Back then, without the easy access to the internet like we have today, it was simpler for people to believe stories that seemed true. Therefore, Juan's narrative about being a Shaolin monk was completely fabricated. As people believed him, he continued to elaborate and expand his false story. In fact, the world and national championship titles he often held were also inventions. Juan has never participated in official competitions. He proclaimed himself the winner of these awards to add more credibility to his frauds. During the investigation into the photos found in Juan's possession, the police were able to identify most of the women depicted. However, some remained unidentified, raising the suspicion that Juan Carlos may have claimed more victims than initially known. The police realized that Juan's pattern was to target foreign women who were alone in Spain, as this made it easier for distant family members to delay the perception of their disappearance, as well as complicating the filing of complaints due to distance. Authorities believe the unidentified women may be foreigners whose family members have not yet been able to launch an investigation. The body parts that Juan allegedly discarded in the river were never recovered. The police also reinvestigated the mysterious case of Juan's brother's death in 1992, suspecting that he could have been Juan's first victim, but were unable to find concrete evidence to corroborate this theory. Thus, Juan was formally charged with only 2 crimes. Judgment and over-edit. The court case, Juan's defense, and the outcome of the trial. On April 17, 2015, Juan faced his trial, being labeled a serial killer monk. Throughout the time in court, he remained tranquil, his eyes closed in meditation. At the end of the case, Juan Carlos was found guilty of aggravated homicide, committed in a cruel and inhumane manner, with no chance of defense on the part of the victims. Aged 50 at the time, he received a sentence of 19 years in prison for each of his victims, totaling 38 years in prison without the possibility of parole. His eventual release could only take place in 2053, when he would be 88 years old. Conclusion. The story of Juan Carlos Aguilar Gomes, better known as the Killer Monk, is a disturbing account of the complexity of human nature and the winding paths life can take. From his childhood in Spain to his self-proclaimed Shaolin monk and spiritual leader, Juan Carlos embodied a striking duality, oscillating between apparent serenity and ruthless cruelty. Her trajectory, permeated by family tragedies and a relentless search for power and recognition, reveals the dark depths of the human psyche. The influence of his older brother, the tragic loss, and the transformations after his stay in China are just some of the pieces of this macabre puzzle. Juan Carlos's meteoric rise as a Shaolin master, his notoriety in the media, and the online activities that propagated his philosophies concealed a dark reality, marked by abuse, manipulation, and heinous crimes. His downfall finally came with the revelation of his true nature and the discovery of his monstrous deeds. Juan Carlos' story reminds us of the human capacity for both good and evil, and how thin the line between sanity and madness can be. It is a disturbing reminder that appearances do not always reflect a person's true essence. Therefore, as we reflect on this shocking story, we are confronted with the need to better understand the human mind, its complexities, and its shadows. It is a call to be aware of the signs, seek to understand the motivations behind human actions, and cultivate a more empathetic and just society. Thank you for watching this video, and we invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this content, and share it so that more people can reflect on these deep and important questions. Your interaction is critical for us to continue exploring fascinating and relevant stories like this one.